Hello and welcome back to the show. Today, we're diving into the numbers from Mahindra and Mahindra Financial Services Limited, or MMFSL. They're a major player in the NBFC space, especially focused on rural and semi-urban India.
Okay, that's right. MMFSL is a subsidiary of the Mahindra and Mahindra Group, financing vehicles, tractors, SMEs, and more. They also have key subsidiaries like Mahindra Rural Housing Finance, Mahindra Insurance Brokers, which recently became wholly owned, and Mahindra Ideal Finance in Sri Lanka. Quite a diverse portfolio under their umbrella.
Absolutely. So they've released their earnings presentation and detailed financial results for the fourth quarter and the full financial year ended March 31st, 2025. The board meeting approving these results was held on April 22, 2025. We'll be looking at both the standalone and consolidated figures today.
Okay, let's kick off with the standalone performance, which reflects the core MMFSL business.
How did they fare in Q4 and the full year on the standalone basis?
Looking at Q4 FY25 standalone, disbursements were up slightly at 15,530 crore rupees, a 2% year-over-year increase from 15,292 crore rupees. However, profit after tax, or PAT, saw a dip, coming in at 563 crore rupees, down 9% year-over-year from 619 crore rupees in Q4 FY24.
Disbursements up slightly, but Q4 profit down. What about the full year FY25?
For the full financial year 25 on a standalone basis, the story looks stronger. Disbursements grew 3% year-over-year to 57,900 crore rupees. Total income rose significantly by 19% to 16,075 crore rupees. Pre-provisioning operating profit, or PPOP, which gives us a good sense of operating performance before accounting for loan provisions, increased by 14% to 4,765 crore rupees. And importantly, the full year PAT jumped 33% year-over-year to 2,345 crore rupees from 1,760 crore rupees in FY24.
Okay, so a bit of a mixed picture in Q4 standalone but a robust performance for the full year. What drove that full year profit growth?
A key factor is the growth in their assets under management, or AUM. Standalone AUM grew 17% year-over-year to reach 1,19,673 crore rupees by the end of March 2025. This larger asset base generated more income. While net interest margins, or NIMs, saw some compression down to 6.5% for FY25 from 6.8% in FY24, the overall income growth from the larger AUM and controlled credit costs helped boost the bottom line significantly for the full year. Standalone earnings per share, or EPS, for FY25 was 18.99 rupees, up from 14.26 rupees in FY24.
Got it. Now let's switch to the consolidated picture, which includes the subsidiaries. How did that look for Q4 and the full year?
On a consolidated basis for Q4 FY25, total income grew 8% year-over-year to 2,679 crore rupees. However, similar to the standalone Q4, the consolidated PAT for Q4 dropped significantly, down 32% year-over-year to 456 crore rupees from 671 crore rupees.
Wow, a 32% drop in consolidated Q4 profit. What about the full consolidated year?
The full year consolidated performance was better, though not as strong as the standalone jump. For FY25 consolidated, total income was up 12% year-over-year at 10,115 crore rupees. PPOP grew 12% to 5,047 crore rupees. Consolidated PAT for the full year came in at 2,261 crore rupees, which is a 16% increase year-over-year from 1,943 crore rupees in FY24.
Okay, so consolidated profit growth of 16% for the year, lagging the standalone 33% growth. This suggests the subsidiaries might have had a mixed performance or perhaps dragged down the overall consolidated profit compared to the core MMFSL business?
That seems likely. While the core MMFSL business showed strong standalone profit growth for the year, the consolidated picture indicates slower growth, pointing towards challenges or lower profitability in some subsidiary operations during FY25. We can see some of this in the subsidiary details. For example, Mahindra Rural Housing Finance reported a consolidated PAT loss of 228 crore rupees for FY25, compared to a small profit the previous year. Mahindra Insurance Brokers' profit was also down year-over-year.
Let's talk profitability margins. We mentioned the standalone NIM compression. How did margins look overall, comparing standalone and consolidated?
Right, the standalone NIM for FY25 was 6.5%. The standalone net profit margin for FY25 PAT divided by total income comes out to roughly 14.6%, a nice improvement from FY24's 12.9%. On the consolidated side, the net profit margin for FY25 was about 22.3%, slightly up from 21.5% in FY24. The cost-to-income ratio on a standalone basis remained relatively stable at 41.7% for FY25.
Any significant other income or exceptional items impacting the results, either standalone or consolidated?
Standalone other income for FY25 was 56 crore rupees, down significantly from 155 crore rupees in FY24, which likely contributed to the Q4 standalone profit dip. Consolidated other income was also down year-over-year. Importantly, there were no exceptional items reported in either the standalone or consolidated results for FY25, which gives us a cleaner view of the underlying performance.
Okay, good to know. Let's shift to the balance sheet. What are the key highlights there, especially concerning asset quality and capitalization? Standalone first.
On the standalone side, the balance sheet looks robust. Total assets grew to 1,35,548 crore rupees. Loans form the bulk of this at 1,16,214 crore rupees. Equity increased to 19,812 crore rupees. Borrowing stood at around 96,000 crore rupees, leading to a debt-to-equity ratio of 5.70:1, up from 5.18:1 last year. Capital adequacy ratio, or CAR, remained comfortable at 18.3%, well above the regulatory requirement, although slightly down from 18.9% last year. Tier 1 capital was 15.2%.
And crucially, what about asset quality? That's always key for an NBFC.
Asset quality, based on the Stage 3 classification under INDAS, seems well managed. Gross Stage 3 assets, similar to NPAs, stood at 3.7% of gross assets as of March 2025, slightly up from 3.4% a year ago, but within their target range. Net Stage 3 assets were 1.8%. The provision coverage ratio on Stage 3 assets was 51.2%. End losses and credit costs for FY25 were 1.3% of average assets, meeting their guidance range of 1.3 to 1.5% and showing an improvement from 1.7% in FY24.
Okay, solid capitalization and asset quality seems under control on the standalone side. Any major differences on the consolidated balance sheet?
The consolidated balance sheet reflects the combined entity. Total assets reached 1,44,105 crore rupees. Loans were 1,23,514 crore rupees. Total equity, including non-controlling interests, was 21,573 crore rupees. Consolidated borrowings were around 1,01,600 crore rupees. The specific consolidated asset quality metrics weren't highlighted in the presentation summary, but the standalone figures give a good view of the core portfolio's health.
What about cash flows and dividends?
The detailed cash flow statements show positive cash flow from financing activities for both standalone and consolidated in FY25, primarily driven by increased borrowings to fund the AUM growth. Cash flow from operations was negative, which is typical for a growing NBFC as loan disbursements outpace collections. Importantly, the board has recommended a dividend of 6.50 rupees per share for FY25, which translates to a 325% payout on the face value, subject to shareholder approval. This is slightly up from the 315% dividend last year.
Now let's delve into the business segments or product performance, mainly based on the standalone view provided in the presentation.
Looking at standalone disbursements for FY25, the mix shows continued reliance on vehicles. Passenger vehicles accounted for 41% of disbursements, commercial vehicles and construction equipment 21%, tractors 10%, pre-owned vehicles 16%, and the growing SME segment contributed 5%. Notably, SME disbursements grew a strong 48% year-over-year in FY25, and tractor disbursements were up 8% year-over-year, showing leadership in that segment. Geographically, the distribution seems fairly balanced across their regional circles.
Interesting growth in SME. How does the overall performance in FY25 compare year-over-year, summing up both standalone and consolidated?
Summarizing FY25, standalone performance was strong, marked by 17% AUM growth, 19% income growth, and a 33% jump in PAT, despite some NIM pressure. This was driven by the core lending business and controlled credit costs. The consolidated performance was more moderate, with 12% income growth and 16% PAT growth, likely tempered by the performance of some subsidiaries like the housing finance arm. The slight Q4 standalone profit dip and the larger consolidated Q4 dip seem to be aberrations against a solid full-year trend.
Were there any significant notes, management commentary, or strategic updates mentioned alongside the results?
Yes, several points. MMFSL highlighted their progress on Mission 2025 aspirations, noting they've achieved their gross Stage 3 target below 6% and credit cost target 1.3%, though AUM growth is slightly behind the 2x target at 1.8x cumulative and NIM is at the lower end of the target range. They also outlined future priorities: defending their leadership in vehicle financing, growing SME and fee income, like insurance, maintaining risk levels, turning around the housing finance subsidiary, MRHFL, and leveraging digital and AI for efficiency. The board also approved increasing the overall borrowing limit from 1,30,000 crore rupees to 1,50,000 crore rupees, subject to shareholder approval, signaling future growth plans. They also announced changes in the secretarial auditor and proposed the reappointment of Dr. Rebecca Nugent as an independent director.
Now, a critical part, the auditor's report. What did the auditors say about both the standalone and consolidated results?
This is a key positive point for MMFSL. The joint statutory auditors, Nissim and County LLP and MP, Chitale and Company, have issued unmodified opinions on both the standalone financial results and the consolidated financial results for the year ended March 31, 2025.
Unmodified opinions on both? That's significant.
Absolutely. It means the auditors found that the financial statements present a true and fair view in accordance with the accounting standards. There were no qualifications, adverse opinions, or disclaimers mentioned in the reports accompanying the results announcement. The company also provided a specific declaration confirming these unmodified opinions. This provides a good level of assurance about the reported numbers.
Excellent. So, based on these solid results and clean audit reports, what's the general outlook?
Disclaimer: we advise investors to check with certified experts before taking any investment decisions. The outlook appears cautiously optimistic. MMFSL demonstrated strong standalone growth in FY25, driven by AUM expansion and effective credit cost management. Their focus on diversification, particularly in the SME space, is positive. Asset quality remains under control, and capitalization is comfortable. The key challenges will be managing NIM pressures in a dynamic interest rate environment and successfully turning around the housing finance subsidiary to improve consolidated performance. The planned increase in borrowing limits suggests confidence in future growth opportunities. The unmodified audit opinions add a layer of comfort regarding financial reporting.
Great analysis. So, to wrap it up, MMFSL delivered a strong full-year standalone performance in FY25 with healthy profit growth and controlled asset quality, though Q4 showed some profit decline. Consolidated results were positive but grew at a slower pace. Key drivers were AUM growth and contained credit costs, offset slightly by NIM compression. The subsidiaries had a mixed impact. Importantly, the auditors issued clean, unmodified opinions on both standalone and consolidated financials. Future focus seems to be on diversification, efficiency, and maintaining risk discipline.
Exactly. Solid year overall for the core business, clear priorities ahead, and clean audit reports provide a good foundation, although navigating the macro environment and subsidiary performance will be key monitorables.
Thanks for breaking that down for us. A lot to unpack there. That's all the time we have for today. Remember to do your own research before making any investment decisions.
And if you found this analysis helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast. We'll be back soon with more earnings breakdowns.